The Amp Theory Podcast with Peter Vazquez and Scott Kalnasy.
Oh, apparently we're live.
We're live.
Episode 7.
To the future.
That's not the topic. That's not the topic. The topic is episode 7, habits.
Habits to the future. All right.
Anyways,
yeah.
episode 7.
Episode 7, guys. Hey, you know what? So one thing, we always thank people at the end. But I don't know how many of you guys actually make it to the end. So we want to thank you up front.
Up front. Thank you, all 5 people watching.
Yeah, no, everybody that's watching, that even watches any little bit, thank you so much.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Really do appreciate it. And also, I want to mention that we're going to try something new, right? We're kind of changing up the way we do things a little bit. We've been having like hour plus long episodes. And we think that we would do better in the information that we give you if we cut them down, maybe half.
It's about like 45 minutes.
Yeah,
45 minutes.
30 to 45 minutes. We'll see how far we get. But we're going to break down each habit into different each episode or each topic into different parts. And then that way we can just smack you guys with fucking information, just lather you up. With information.
Wait, this is recorded.
You're not wearing your booty shorts today, though.
No, they're in the washer, actually.
He bought one pair.
8A, B-Day, that shit. You should have turned it inside out.
I can take the thighs out if you want and just...
There it is again. We apologize.
Thank you for listening.
That's why we don't have as many views
No.
on the last episode.
I wish we were sponsored by
Crossrope?
no, what's that application place where you can find new hires? What's it, monster.com?
Indeed or
Oh,
Monster.
Indeed?
Yeah, Indeed
Yeah.
or Monster. We're looking for
We're looking for a guy
a
between 30 and 34
if you have
with workout
video
experience.
video editing skills and social media stuff.
Good luck. I quit.
No, but if you do know somebody, please let us know. Anyways, we are talking about habits.
Yep.
And actually, we fucked up a little bit because we didn't get the definition out.
Yep.
So take it away.
So while you're looking up the definition of habit, we're going to go through like what habits are, how you can create new habits, and some studies that we've read about where habits are created. And
Ready?
with that,
Yeah, so the definition of habit is a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up.
what's the hardest habit you've tried to give up? I think so too.
Let's see, the hardest habit I've tried to give up. Fucking bean soap.
Nah, not a bullshit made up on the spot habit, like a real like I've had struggles habit, like it keeps you up at night habit.
Keeps me up at night. I think I'm a big worrier.
How do you get over a habit of worrying?
So as we'll go into the habit loop, one thing that's helped me, right, is that so definitely different things trigger my worrying. So a while back, my family we decided to have my wife stay and take care of the kids. Right? I don't know if I mentioned this before, but we decided as a family that would be best. And so being the only provider was definitely worrying me, because all of a sudden it's like it's all me. So what I started doing was just like if I was going to worry, I would only worry about the things that I could do that day. And just understand that like your mind could take you anywhere in the future. And I think that was what was killing me the most was that I would be able to think of like everything that could possibly happen. And when I was doing that, like really what I started realizing just with age was that like out of all the things that I imagined going wrong, only some of them, like, or maybe none of them would ever actually happen, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like suffering more based on these things that weren't really happening, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what, if I just focus on the actions I can do today, like I can't worry about it, I can't change it, but if I do what I can today, then the outcome would be different. So my worrying just became a little bit more targeted to that. And so I've been able to change a lot of my, I mean, if y'all notice, I have a lot of white hair, you know, and
we're getting old.
Yeah, but I think I've had it since my 20s, and I think it's because a lot of my worrying.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Extreme personal stuff aside.
Come on, man. There's kids watching, bro.
There's no kids watching. Everybody in the analytics is above 18, so that gesture is okay. I would say that I worry too, but it's mainly work that I worry about.
Yeah.
You know, by the end of the day, what worries me is the things that I didn't get done and the things that I'll have to do tomorrow, and then the possibility of someone being angry, upset, cussing me out, whatever. I've already told you I get yelled at really well at my job. But I've tried to keep like my circle of influence like small, right? The things that I can control, the things that I have power to change. I try to keep that as like small and compact as possible. Like, this thing is not going to bother me because I know it will get done. And that's when it comes to work. And outside of my circle of influence, there's that circle of concern, and those are the things that I can't do anything about.
Yeah.
So when you're saying that you're talking or you're thinking about like all these things that you may come across or may not come across, like for me, like that circle of concern, I try not to worry about it too much because it would drive me crazy. Not that there's anything wrong with you thinking ahead, but for me, like when I want to change like certain things about myself, when we talk about the habit loop and like the the cues that like cause and trigger my stress, I immediately think about my small circle of influence versus my circle of concern.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a good way of organizing it. And you know, with habits, as like I was looking it up, it's crazy how powerful these things are, and I think once we go into explaining, I think we'll have a better understanding of why they are so hard to curve, right? Let's bring up Eugene real quick.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. So there,
Eugene is from the book by Duhigg.
Yeah, the Charles Duhigg, The Power Habits.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So Charles, this was a book that I read a while back, and I kind of went back in, wrote some notes, and so the book is The Power Habit by Charles Duhigg, and he was talking about this guy named Eugene, right? And Eugene had ended up getting like a viral infection in his brain or something like that.
He
Right?
got viral encephalitis, which is basically like on the exterior of your skin can cause like blisters, it can cause like rashes, things like that. But when it's a viral infection, it happened to hit his brain, and it hit his brain and the basal ganglia. And I only remember that because
No. It didn't hit the basal ganglia.
Oh, it was around it.
It was
right?
around it.
Around
Yeah.
His basal ganglia was saved miraculously.
Yeah.
But there was that small part of his brain that had deteriorated from the viral encephalitis.
Yeah. And so the way that they explained it, like the outer matter of your brain it takes care of like the daily tasks.
So the studio's haunted, or what?
I don't know, but I'm kind of scared.
It's Eugene.
It's Eugene. Oh, you saw it here first. Fucking paranormal
Breaking news.
and theory, the paranormal episode. But anyways, back to what I was saying before the ghost took over.
The spirits are with me.
I know, right? The spirits got me. So basically, the outer part of your brain takes care of all your daily tasks, right? But the inside, the
Basal ganglia.
Yeah, he says it because I can't say it. But anyways, that part.
We rock paper scissors. We get to say it.
No, we didn't. He got it. But the good thing about that part of the brain is that it was the more primitive, right? It's more your
It's your more animalistic part of your brain, the part that's more subliminal, because your brain has so many functions that it has to process in a day.
Yeah.
And what that part of the brain does is where your habits are formed.
Yeah.
And if we had to focus on every single step of every single habit that we had, it would drive us crazy.
Yeah, yeah. And so our boy Eugene got that syphilitis in the brain. What was it?
Viral encephalitis.
And he got that syphilitis in the brain, right? And good news was that he survived.
Yeah, he survived.
Bad news,
he was never the same.
He couldn't remember shit, right?
Well, he could remember things up to the 1960s.
Yeah.
But his short-term memory was gone. He couldn't remember, like, if he were to talk to you and you told him something very important, he couldn't remember that shit for more than, like, several minutes at a time.
Yeah, yeah.
Which sucks.
Yeah, and they had this funny story on there that he was talking about how like he was so impressed about like computers at the time because he last remembered 1970s computers.
Yeah, when he
and
used to work in tech. Yeah,
yeah, and so he would like say something about the keyboard, be like, "Oh yeah," and then like literally like
back in my day.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. 2 minutes,
like 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
You would need stacks to hold on to your computer.
Yeah, and then like 2 minutes later, he like repeat the same thing. You know, he was just saying the same thing over and over because he couldn't retain any new information. But the crazy thing about his story was that even though with a fucked up brain, he would always go on a walk with his wife, right?
Yep.
Like just daily, just go on a walk with his wife. And so one day,
he snuck out the house.
Hell yeah, old homeboy got loose.
Gone.
And wife came out and couldn't find him anywhere. It was like, the fuck? You know, like, he ain't gonna remember how to get back. Yeah. And then she she jetted out, right? And she was like knocking on neighbors' doors and like trying to see if maybe he like went into the wrong house and was like just going crazy looking for him, right? And so when she was like, man, I need to call the cops, and she ran back into the house, he was in there eating Cheetos and shit.
Yeah.
he was just at the house, and so like everybody was questioning themselves. This is a man that can't remember what he says, like, you know, a couple minutes spread apart.
Yeah.
And yet he was able to go out and have a walk and come back in.
Yeah, because remember, too, the doctors that were trying to, like, figure out what was going on with his brain, they're like, okay, so when you have to get up and go to the restroom, what route do you take? Can you draw a diagram of the house? And he's like, no. Yeah. And then he just, like, randomly, he's like, I got to pee. Got up, walked down the hall, went to the restroom, used the restroom, watched him come back. And they're like, how'd you do that? He's like, oh. Yeah. Like, what do you do when you're hungry? He's like, oh. Yeah. But his wife said every morning, like when certain cues would trigger, he'd be in bed, the sun is out, his radio's on. He would go to the fucking kitchen, make bacon, eggs, and whatever he had to drink, and then he'd go back and like lay down. Yeah. And then he'd forget about it, but then he'd go follow the same habit. Yeah. Same habit was always bacon, eggs, drink, eat, lay down. And he'd do that multiple times a day because he forgot that, you know, he wasn't hungry.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the real important part of that story is to drive that, like, your habits are so powerful, and the building of habits is so primal to us as humans that even if you lost the outer matter or a big part of the outer matter of your brain, like, you would still be able to learn habits. So it's not a memory thing. It's not that you do the same thing over and over, because even somebody that can't retain can be almost a victim to their habits. I don't know if that's the right way of saying it, but
I don't know. I do know that specific part of the brain, though, is also cued to like I said, the primal part, which is also kind of like, I would almost say like a fight or flight scenario, because that part of your brain also holds that habit of us constantly being on the lookout for predators. Yeah. And when someone jumps out of a bush at you, what do? You're like, oh shit! Like, that's your like protect mechanism. Like that. Yeah. Even if you couldn't remember anything, like, that part of your brain is still active. That habit is still firing because it's in that primitive part, and so it's like a protection. Yeah. Yeah. Can't remember the conversation you just had, but you damn sure know when to run.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You're always going to remember if you're in danger or something, no matter if you can, hold new information or not. Yeah. So what I was reading was that your brain, while it's only, a small portion of your overall body weight, it actually consumes a good chunk of energy.
Yeah.
Right? I think that if I remember correctly, it's like 20%, right? And so what your brain does to try to be able to conserve some of that energy, right?
It wants to be lazy.
Yeah.
That's why your habits form.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why it's so subconscious.
Yeah, it takes the things that you do routinely and says, "Oh, we just do this shit, right?
Yeah.
Like this is the shit we do."
Yeah.
So what it does is that it then makes it to when you're doing that, you're not really thinking anymore. It just like, oh, this is what I do. Cool. You do the routine, and then to get the outcome that you need.
Yeah, you can create like your own habit loop with that, right? So for someone who wants to run every day, like a good cue to give yourself to go run, to get that runner's high, to come back, and like the way I kind of understood it was like a cue for a person who wants to wake up early in the morning and go run. Your shoes are by your bed, so that cue is telling you, okay, now I'm up. My shoes are right there. That means that I have to go run now. And then when I run, when I'm finished with my run, I can come back and reward myself. And reward yourself can be any reward that you want to give yourself. Whether you want to run first, then eat breakfast, or run first and then take a shower and get clean. Like whatever you set as your reward for running, it just constantly repeats itself.
Yeah. So let's talk about the parts of a habit loop.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So part number one.
Come on, brother.
Part number one is the cue. Right? And so the cue is the thing that sets it off, right? It's like when this thing happens, it's like you go. So for some of us, right, the cue is like late night, I turn on Netflix and that cocoon, right? Like that's why they do that, right? That cocoon, right?
Yeah.
That's the cue. That says, oh shit, I'm about to just go fucking full zombie mode and watch like 3 hours worth of this episode. And the reward is the dopamine that it gives us going through whatever it is that we're watching. What watching does to our brain, that's the reward, right? So it's the cue, then it's the routine. The routine is watching the Netflix, right?
Yep.
And the reward is that feeling you get. Because why do you think episodes always leave on a cliffhanger?
Because they always want you to come back and watch
Because they want
more.
you to come back. That's the reward, right? Oh my God, what's going to happen? The excitement, right? Like,
I'm gonna know.
Yeah, what the fuck? Right? It's like, so these companies have gotten the habit loop so perfect. I mean, literally everything you watch, right, has that little first, like, little sound, right? If you go to Hulu has a little fucking sound.
Every single Marvel movie is the same with their fucking intro logo.
Yeah, with the...
nostalgic,
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you turn on your computer for good or for evil,
Apple all the time.
Yeah.
Apple has that main logo. When I boot up my Mac to do these videos.
Yeah.
It's there to design that, like, okay, cool, you turn this on, we're gonna give you exactly what you want.
Yeah.
And like that's the routine.
Yeah.
Like the cue is, I mean, it's late night, right?
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I'm tired, but it's that certain time, because cues aren't always designated by like a specific logo or a sound. It could be a time. It could be a reaction to something. Since we're still talking about the habit loop, in the book, Charles Duhigg talks about how every day between 3 and 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon, he wanted a cookie. So what would he do? He'd like leave his desk, go up several floors, get a cookie, and while he was in there eating his cookie, he would talk to his friends, come back down to his desk, and what happened? He put on weight. And then his wife was like, hey, Tubby, lose that shit.
Hell yeah.
So what did he do? He was like, okay, I'm going to figure out why I'm getting fat, why I want this cookie.
Yeah.
So he basically broke it down. He's like, what's my cue? Okay, every day between 3 and 3:30, I want a cookie. So how am I going to, like, get rid of this routine of me going to get a cookie, and then the reward is so good, and then I come and repeat. Yeah. He's like, okay, cool. I will try an apple. Didn't work. I will go run around the block. Didn't work. I'll drink water. That didn't work. And then when it came down to it, he realized that he associated going upstairs to get the cookie to conversing with people that he was friends with. So he realized, he was like, hey, it's not the cookie I want. It's conversation. It's to be social.
Yeah.
So to kick that cookie habit, he was like, cool, I'm just gonna go talk to somebody. I'm a gossip for a few minutes. Go back to my desk.
Yeah.
Kick the cookie habit because he realized that he could change the habit, and then he lost weight, and his wife is very happy.
Yeah. Yeah. So just like with anything, the habit loop is where you can, if you understand the habit loop, right? The cue routine reward or cue response reward.
I see it as like the cue routine reward.
Yeah. So like when you know these three parts of a habit, you can actually go in there and tinker with it, right?
Yeah.
So
yes.
My mind was like trying to go three places at once.
I get that. Yeah, like the cue, the routine, the reward. And what's cool is you can switch your habits, right?
Yeah.
Like you can change like a bad habit to a good habit. But before we get there, like I think something that you should know is like you can also revert back to old habits.
Yeah.
Because while you're learning new habits and like you're replacing your bad habits with something new, if for some reason there's an old cue that triggers and you act on it, it's so easy for you to mindlessly fall back into like that habit of eating cookies. Or in the book, there was a woman named Lisa who was a smoker, like, and she had to run the gambit of like all kinds of breakdowns and things that she had to go through in order to quit smoking. Same thing with like dropping the cookie habit. Like if you don't want a cookie, like for us, since we talk about like working out a lot, your cue to not have your cookie, your shoes are right there. Go for a run.
Yeah. You start giving yourself new cues, and you always have to remember that like there has to be a reward at the end. So, in a seminar, Charles was talking about how they did this one study where they told the people, hey, like the cue, leave your shoes right there, so they cues you to like put them on, go exercise, and when you're done, eat a piece of chocolate.
Yeah.
Right. And so he was saying it's like you would think that would be counterproductive, right? Yeah. Like you think it's like, oh, I'm trying to exercise, so then I'm eating chocolate, like,
Yeah.
But what ended up happening is those people created that habit that eventually, once they were able to drop the chocolate because of exercise's own natural like endorphin response, right? And the dopamine that hits your brain.
Yeah, they realize that they get that runner's high or whatever it is, like that good feeling, and they didn't need the chocolate anymore. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, so like, when you're trying to quit something, the first thing you need to do is like, what is it that's triggering this, right? So if you're trying to stop drinking, right, and you realizing that it's like, oh, like it's not as easy as saying, hey, I'm just not gonna drink anymore. Because going back to willpower, hey, you might have the willpower to do it for a day, a week, a month, right? Yeah. What happens is you don't lose these old habits.
No.
So after a while, you keep putting yourself in situations where it could be like, hey, every time I hang out with my group of friends, like, and we go to the club, like that's when I get the most fucked up, right? So stop going to the club, like it's like, because going to like being around a certain group of people, like going to a certain place, that could be the trigger.
Yeah.
Right. So then you what happens is you get caught on a day where your willpower has been depleted, right? And next thing you know, you're in the area, you're triggered AF, right? Yeah. And all of a sudden you fucking, hey, well, yeah, let me get a sip here, let me get a sip there. But then what happens is that reward gets hit again, right? And then what happens is like, let's fucking do it again tomorrow, you know? And so that's why that happens not just with those type of things, but wanting to exercise with habits that we want to stop as much as habits that we want to do. Is that like we try and our willpower gets us so successful, but before we can create that habit, what happens is that we get triggered by other habits that have consumed our lives. So we go back to that.
Like it's funny that you bring up willpower, because willpower has a lot to do with your personal want to change. Like how we've talked about, like, we look in the accountability mirror, we looked at ourselves, like we were very hard on ourselves. We had to have that paradigm shift where it was like, okay, I'm no longer going to do things the way that I've been doing them. I want to do things in a positive manner. I want to lose weight. I want to work out. So what do I have to do to form new habits? Okay, you got to figure out the cues to like what was causing you to do bad things in the first place. understand that you'll never have those like fully gone, that you can easily go down that rabbit hole, but it's okay to forgive yourself. But you develop these like new cues and triggers. That way you can form brand new habits. And once you've had that paradigm shift, it might be a little bit easier for you to like understand that you can, you can move forward, you can do better. And as long as you like forgive yourself when you fall, don't always go back into your same routines, you'll move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And, we're living in the future, right? Like as future, we're living in the now. We don't know what tomorrow brings. So we're living in the next second. There's no other second besides the one that keeps coming, right? So we don't know what's going to happen. And our life has brought us here. Technology, like we live in the most technologically advanced time that's existed, right? I mean, now maybe in the future that'll be different, but right now is what it is. And what happens is that we have a lot of time, and we're dealing with very new age things that we want to do, right? Like being able to worry about school, being able to worry about fucking losing weight. Like gaining weight is a problem, where maybe back then when food was more scarce is like, how do I put weight on, So it's like we're dealing with new things, new challenges that our brain isn't used to, with a brain that's so prehistoric, right? That says, hey, if you see something, fucking eat it, because we need the fucking calories.
Yeah, because we talked about that last time with willpower. Like our brain, that primitive part of our brain says, eat that sugar. Yeah. Eat those sweets. Yeah. Put that fat on.
Yeah, we need to store.
You're gonna need it for winter.
Hell yeah. Yeah, and not just that, it's like, hey, like, I know you want to sit there and just study, but like, what are we going to do with that information, right? Like sometimes we can't really put ourselves with that future person, right? And say, oh man, if I sit here and sacrifice now, Peter from the future is going to fucking be really happy about that, So what I'm trying to say is that we're really just battling our brains. Yeah. Right. And so another great experiment that happened that kind of gives you an insight of that brain was the Rad Experiment that he talks about in the book. Yeah. So basically what they did, right, is these scientists got some rats and they put these probes in their brains, right, to measure their brain activity. Yep. And they put them at the beginning of a T-maze, right? So it's basically one long corridor and you could either go left or right, right? And that's it. That was the whole maze. They had them on the other side of this little partition thing, right? And so what they would do is that they would click, they'd make a click sound, and then they'd open it. And so then this rat never had done it before, was scratching the maze, sniffing around. He knew there was chocolate there, but he didn't know where it was. And so he was trying to climb out of it. He was trying to maneuver through it. Sometimes it looks like he was just wandering, right? Yeah. He had no idea what the hell was going on. And what they noticed was that his brain activity was like through the roof.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it was brand new to him.
Yeah, like, yeah. And it was just gathering information, right? Even at the times where they were like, oh, this motherfucker just quit. But no, he was still like, kind of thinking about what was going on. Yeah. Eventually he made it to the end and then he made the wrong turn and he's like, what the fuck? I know there's chocolate in here. Where the fuck is it? So he's like, looking around. Finally made it to the chocolate, right? Great. And they did that day in, day out.
Yeah, they did it hundreds of times,
right? And you would think, right, is that like, once he knew where the chocolate was, and eventually the times did get less and less, that his mind would be like, oh, okay, like always thinking. But what they found out is the better he got, the shorter the routes came to getting that fucking chocolate, right? The less his brain was actually thinking.
Yeah, because it was all habit. It was a formed habit at that point. Yeah, exactly. Where, like, how far forward he had to go, and he had to make that left turn to get to the chocolate. Yeah, and then it's like boom, boom, boom. Yeah, like it became like second nature. Like he didn't have to think about it. Yeah, at all.
Yeah, it was almost just automatic, right? And so when you find yourself saying, "Why can't I stop doing this?" Right? Why is it that like I need to be studying, but my ass is on fucking Instagram, just fucking scrolling down? Like this is the shit. I just spent 20 minutes on this. I don't have 20 minutes, And why is it that and it's because it starts becoming a habit, right? And it's not you, right? It's not you, Scott. It's your fucked up brain. It's your brain that, you know, and it's all of our brains, you know, and those people that are more disciplined, right, allow themselves to go through the activity of building a new habit to replace the old habit and understanding what it is about the old habit that like triggers you. So it's very important that you understand that it's your brain.
Yeah.
Right. And so once you understand that it's you versus you, now you can use the habit loop to get that. And so to finish up the whole rat thing, what they realized towards the end, once he knew exactly where he was going every single time, right, that the brain activity would spark twice, right? Once was at the cue. When he heard the click, right, he knew, oh shit, it's about to go down. But then during the routine, there was no thought. You just do it, right? But just like once you get started with Netflix, there's no thought. You're not even controlling. You're just like, oh shit, you know what? I'm just gonna knock this episode out.
It's just like when you're driving a car. When you first move to a new area, you don't know it. So your brain's like, crap. Well, how do I get around? But after you live there for a while, you don't even have to think about it. You know where to drive.
Yeah. And then so because your brain goes down, once you get to the reward, it peaks again. So now you're doing an activity that peaks you at the cue and at the reward, meaning that your brain just tied the cue and the reward together.
And everything else is just autopilot.
Yeah. That's why when certain things happen, you're like, ooh, you get excited, right? Like it's like, damn, dinner time. And I know that at dinner time, I'm always eating something. So you get excited, you know, like, ooh, you know, I'm about to have all this stuff. Because it's like you haven't even eaten yet, but you know what that... So you've tied the two things together.
Yeah, the cue is like, it could be the time, it could be the smell. You're like...
Yeah.
Time to eat.
Yeah. It's that urge, you know? And then, so...
You were talking about urges off camera with a certain 90s movie star.
I was not.
I mean, I'm not going to tell anybody, but just...
There may be a subliminal picture pop up.
Nah. Look.
A Fight Club reference.
First of all, you can appreciate how beautiful another man is.
That's very true.
Without loving that man. All right? And all I was doing was just showing appreciation.
Much respect.
For one of my doppelgangers, bro. What the fuck, you know?
It's also a good movie.
It's a great movie. Look, fuck this guy, right?
I love you.
Hell nah. All right, you know what? I'm not gonna go there because I'm trying to build a habit of not fucking you up, bro.
I'm gonna tell my dad.
No, man, but habits are a bitch, man. Like, you know, habits are a motherfucking bitch, right? And what we're trying to do is at least spark kind of like some of your interest and kind of break down these topics in such a way where we can make them kind of understandable. And again, like if you want the like scientific terms and stuff like that, you know,
to the wrong place.
Yeah, no, just I mean, really look into it, you know, because I think that if we can just do that for you, just spark enough interest to where you can actually go in there and like,
it's really, excuse me, it's really interesting to like read like these very professional people have these like conversations in these books, and then for us to like come and like, I wouldn't say dumb it down, but like have like this conversation where we can like talk and like just make fun of things, and we can act like we understand the material, so we can like joke about it, and hopefully that gets across to you, like that we're not just like complete dumbasses. Like we actually have read a lot of material. We do know a little bit about a lot of the things we talk about, but
surface level,
very surface level. Yeah.
You know, like
with multitudes
in our dumb way of trying to explain, like this is the first time, at least for me, and I don't know if I speak for you as well, that like
you don't speak for me.
I fucking know your mind.
What am I thinking?
I don't want to say because you're dirty.
Off camera.
But you know, this is the first time that we really have to like actually talk about these things. Mm-hmm. So again, like, you know, what we're trying to do is just spark the interest, right? If I think we've made things pretty understandable, right? But if we can spark your interest into like you gathering the information and seeing, you know, from what we're saying, that, you know, if we can help you build that habit,
Yeah.
right?
Like build the habit of weekly watching this YouTube channel, getting
Subliminal
what
message.
you can get from our videos.
Watch this video 5 times.
Subliminal message like the Disney subliminal messages in the movies.
Subliminal messages.
Do you want me to throw a dick on the screen?
No. No.
Not at all. Not at all.
Jonathan's not the idea, man.
No, you know, we're talking about habits. There was something that you brought up off camera that you kind of got from Duhigg's book as well. It was, the term was chunking.
Yeah. Yeah. So what our mind does is that it starts pairing actions together, right? So that it has to think less of those things, you know, which later on, so driving.
It's more autopilot.
Yeah. So okay. like driving, right? Like remember the first time you got in a car, right? Like you're like fucking thinking about everything. It's like you're looking at every single fucking mirror and you're, you know, watching every fucking car and like, you know, trying to do that. But eventually as you like get better, your brain says, oh, these bundles of actions we do out of necessity, right? It's like in driving for most of us, especially here in Texas, is a necessity, right? Everything's fucking 20 plus minutes away. And so
used to be.
Yeah. So now so basically what it does is your brain says, okay, these things we have to do for survival. It chunks it together and then it makes it autopilot so that it's not always constantly taking up all that energy it needs to process the information of driving, you know? So
That kind of makes sense, and I'm not using the story as like hey, look at me, I'm a cool dude. I do. So we do have a mutual friend who used to live like a mile from my house, and I used to do certain festivities with this friend, like smoke weed a lot. And I remember one time his mom
butt stuff.
Bad stuff that I don't do anymore.
I said butt stuff.
Yeah, I heard.
And he confirmed.
I heard bad stuff. I heard bad stuff.
No.
I heard bad stuff.
You're the witness.
You're projecting.
No.
Okay. So anyways, like we used to smoke weed, right?
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
And I remember his mom was upset that we were all crashed out at his house. She kicked us out. It was super early in the morning. I had just gone to bed like recently, or fallen asleep recently, and I had to drive home. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. And then I drove home, not knowing how I got home. And I pulled up in front of my house, and I was like, oh, shit. Like, and I looked at my friend who I had brought with me, and I was like, I'm going to tell you something. I don't know how we got here. But it was that autopilot.
Yeah.
I had driven that route hundreds and hundreds of times that I could have just autopiloted it there.
Yeah.
And sober, it's happened before, too. You ever, like, been on a drive and you just, like, space, and then you get to your destination? That's not autopilot.
Yeah, you're like, how the fuck did I get here?
Yeah.
On the highway, like, oh shit, I'm driving.
Bro, sometimes I'll pass a light and I was like, was that shit green?
Oh, I do that all the time. Yeah.
I'm like, dude, did I just...
So
I look behind me, like, yeah, it's green. Okay.
like I've caught myself stopping at stoplights when I need to, right? Like obeying like the rules of the road. But on that drive, because I've done it so many times, like I space, like my brain thinks about 100 other things.
Yeah.
And for that part of the brain where it just became a habit to take that route, it was kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Like that your brain can like chunk that kind of like information together.
Yeah.
Like it's to me that's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. And I really encourage you guys to, you know,
Not smoke weed.
No, don't smoke weed. Fucking respect your parents and go to school.
Not those two, but definitely don't smoke weed.
Yeah. Yeah, what fucking age do I think people are like
my brother watches this. He's 19.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, I guess we're
Shout out, Michael James.
Yeah. Also want to say happy birthday, my nephew Tiger.
Oh.
Hey, it's his birthday today. We want to go see him.
Happy birthday.
So happy birthday. But guys, let us know what you think about these shorter episodes. I mean, I think, are you pretty good?
Yeah, I feel pretty good.
Yeah. So, I mean, we wanted to give as much information as we could, you know, still have fun doing it. But if you guys like the shorter podcast, let us know. Again, we do appreciate you guys listening and putting up with us. And I know sometimes the shit we say is not as funny as we think it is, and we apologize. I especially want to apologize for these two clowns. I know you guys come for me, and I know that I'm basically like the main character of this show. like think you follow. But I'm just bullshitting.
Is delusion part of habit?
That's actually the topic of our next episode. No.
Oh.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna split up habit like into 2 or 3 episodes. So the next episode is also gonna be on habit, but on a different aspect of it. And I hope you guys take a lot out of this, but kind of, as an exercise, start thinking about the habits that you'd either like to finish, right? Like, or not finish, but stop doing, right? And see what is it that triggers you, right?
Yeah, definitely give yourself like a positive affirmation for like whatever habit you are trying to create. Say, I will like start doing this.
Yeah.
Just be positive about it. If you say like, I'm not going to continue to do something, it's kind of negative.
Yeah.
It's kind of going to put you back a little bit in your head because it's a negative connotation. Just have that positive affirmation. Say, I will start working out. I will start eating better. I will change some of my bad habits. And, eventually you'll get there.
Yeah. And if you feel shitty, like on a habit, just know that you're not shitty. It's like, like even though the habit may not make you feel good, like you're not a shitty person for doing the habit. It's your brain that's shitty.
Yeah.
It's your brain's a fucking asshole, right?
This way.
Yeah. And so like, start looking for your cues. What cue is making you do this habit, right? And how can you change it? Because one thing that they found out with the Rad test is, and also Eugene, right, is that once one thing was different, so if there was construction on Eugene's route, like it would fuck his whole world up, right? And he would not know, like it would just throw him out of the habit.
Yeah.
So disrupt whatever habit that you have. What is the cue? And then how can you change it, right, to where it throws off that pattern?
And create a new reward for your new habit.
Yeah. So replace that old habit with a new habit. Give yourself a cue, right? It could be an alarm on your phone. That's how I do it, right? It's like the alarm is the cue, and then whatever it is I want to do. Like, so me, I've never been a morning person. I finally got myself to where I can wake up 7:30 to 8. I would like earlier. So the alarm is now my cue, and I wake up and I just fucking, have some chocolate.
But yeah, with that said, like, go ahead, subscribe. We're on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Anchor, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, anything. Anything and everything we're on. Come find us. We're at the Amp Theory. Hope that you leave comments on this too so we can have conversations.
Yeah, fuck with us. All right.
What he said.
Okay.